times 8. Okay, guys, we are going to start today's lesson. So let's start by trying to just finish off the warm-up. 1 times 8, if we got 1 times 8, 8 times 7 divided by 3, 8 times 7 is 56. Divided by 3, that's going to get messy. Okay, I'm going to give you a little hint. What if I tell you that you start by going 3 plus 1? So the answer has to have you go 3 plus 1. Could you get to 24 using these last two? See if you can answer that. We're gonna ignore B for now. We'll do that another time. But can you get to 24 using, if you start with 3 plus 1, what else do you need to do? So that is the challenge to get you going. Hi, Yandis Ambuli. Welcome, man. So we're just trying to get the, see if we can get up to 24. And so some of you might be new to today, but we just do this little challenge at the beginning to get our brains working. It's called Maths 24, and it's a famous little maths game. Okay. Any ideas? 3 plus 1 gives us 4. So that's taking care of these guys. I can even zoom in so it gets more of our focus. How do we get to 24 using these two numbers? What is that? That's a 7 and that's a 8. Any ideas? Okay. So I'll give you one little additional hint. What can we do with 7 and 4 that might help us? Because remember, I've got the 4, and then I've got a 7, and then I've got an 8. Ooh, let's have a look here. 3 plus 1, 1 times 8 minus 7. Lesedi, you're getting closer, but because of BODMAS, if you do that, this is what Lesedi has. BODMAS says you have to get, you do the multiplication operation first, so you get 8, and then you would just get 3 plus 8 minus 7, which would give you 4. So you got the 4, but we need 24. But you're getting warmer. So here's my hint. If you go 7 minus 4, then you get 3. So now you've used up these 3 numbers and you've got the number 3. So what's the last thing that we can do? How can we use 3 and 8 to get to 24? Who's gonna get it for me? Exactly. 3 times 8 is 24. So just to show you what I did, as a full number sentence using BODMAS, I'm going to go 1 plus 3, and I'm going to put it in a bracket. And the reason I'm putting it in a bracket is to force it to happen first. Then I'm going to say 7 minus what's in the bracket. Okay. And so that would be 7 minus 4. And so if I really want to be sneaky, I can put this in a bracket. So this whole thing is 3, and then I just go 8 times this thing. And so essentially this would be 4, and then 7 minus 4 is 3, and then 3 times 8 is 24. Okay, so we're going to start the lesson properly now, but I hope that that was a fun little warm-up just to get you guys going. What I want to do is we're going to do the announcements, but before that, I'm just going to do a little poll, and I want to see how many of you are with us for the first time today. Anya, do you have access to the poll which says first lesson with Watobe? I think there under the polls there should be an option which says first lesson with Watobe. If you guys,
I've shared it.
If you guys could just answer that, and while you answer that, then I'm going to move on to the next section and somewhat depend on how we answer that as to what we do.
So while you set that up, I just see I've got one question in the chat I'd like to address. So Marty asked in the chat about the 14-day trial. How long does it last? So obviously, depending on when you joined Watobe, your 14 days start. So let's say your parents signed you up last night. This is your first session. Then your 14-day trial would have started yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. But Marty, I've seen you in a few videos, so I think you should be at least a week into your trial, if not close to the end of your trial. But that depends from person to person. So not everyone's trial will end on the same day. It depends when they join, if that answers your question.
Perfect.
Back to you, sir.
Thanks, Anya. So I've just had a look at the poll, and about a third of us are brand new, and about 2/3 have been here before. So I'm just going to quickly explain how do some admin, and then we were going to get going for the day. So when you join Watobe, you automatically get a 14-day free trial when you sign up. And then when you do that, you get invited to these Zooms. It's important that basically after your 2 weeks are up, if you have enjoyed the program, you must let your parents know, because your parents or your guardians are going to get a message from us saying, look, if you enjoyed Watobe, here is the way that you can be part of the sort of Watobe lessons going forward. And it's 75 Rand a week or 299 Rand a month. And so it's important that you tell your parents, because otherwise they may get a message and not really know what it's about. And so that's often why we talk about that. So in order to, after 2 weeks, you will be required to basically have a sort of basic membership. And we will message your parents, but you must let them know if you've enjoyed the learning here at Watobe. The other thing is the website is really important at Watobe. So just like any internet service, you need to get a login and you need to visit the websites a lot. So you need a login and you need like a password, and you set that up on the Watobe website. And then in future, when you want to go to the Zooms, all that you need to do is log in through the website. And so that's basically the most important thing, is go to the Watobe website and let your parents know if you enjoyed it. Now, we're just going to quickly talk a little bit about ourselves, like 2 minutes. So basically, if you're new, it's great to have you with us today. My name is Peter, or Mr. S, or Sir. And so I'm the maths teacher who's running this. And I'm assisted by Anya, who is manning the test. Anya, am I spelling your name? I always get this wrong. It's with a J, hey?
J, it's fine. It's like Anja.
Anja.
Like Inja, like the dog, but with an A.
Like Ninja, yeah. And so she's on the chat stream. And so if you have questions during the lesson, often for the first 15 minutes or so now, we will mute all students so that, basically the lesson can get going. But if you have a question, what you do is you put that question in the chat and we will respond to that as best we can. We're both based in Cape Town and we're both very excited to be with you. And today's unit is the start of the second unit of the year, and it's on a subject called integers. And so that is what we're going to start with in a moment. If there are any questions that you want me to answer about our background or anything else before I get started, could you put those in the chat now? Otherwise, Anya, is there anything from you before I get the show properly on the road?
No, we're quite fine. Yeah, I think we're ready from our side. I'll just keep monitoring the chat, and then I'll let you know if something pops up.
Fantastic. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to talk about just some basic ideas, and then we'll talk about the main ideas, and then we'll do some questions together. So in the previous units that we did a unit on what's called whole numbers. Okay, so, and if you want to know more about whole numbers, those recordings are on YouTube and they're also on the Watobe app. So you absolutely can go look at them anytime. But today we're extending the number families that we've learned about to include something called the integers. And so I just want to read what I've called the guiding questions that will help us as we start learning. So the first guiding question is, how do we take what we've learned about whole numbers and apply it to integers? So that's something we need to think about. For those who were here from the beginning, how do we take what we've learned and sort of extend it to this thing called integers? Then the other thing I want to ask you about is, what is the effect of a double negative in general conversation and logic? And this is actually where I want to get some feedback in the chat. If I say that I'm not hungry today, what does that mean? So if I say to you, I'm not hungry today, what do you hear? What does that mean if I say I'm not hungry? Can you put that? I know it's a bit of a weird question to ask, but can you answer me in the chat? If I say I'm not hungry, you don't. What do you think it means? I'm not hungry. Okay. Okay, so
I love the responses. I love it. Sorry.
yeah, okay. So if I'm not hungry, let's make sure I didn't confuse myself here. I'm not hungry. I'm not hungry. It means I am hungry. Okay. So when we have a double negative, it actually kind of does something quite weird. It does the opposite of what we expect. So if I'm not hungry, I'm actually just hungry. The two negatives almost cancel each other out. And so that's an idea that's going to come later in the lesson. I'm not sure if I confused you or made you more interested, but this idea of not something is something that's going to come up quite a lot in integers. And the main thing to realize is two negatives cancel each other out. Okay. Then the other thing I want to bring up is, can the number line help us to keep track of things? And then the other question is, why do we even have integers? So I'm going to move across to this lovely big picture that I have here. And in the previous unit, we only really spoke about things like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if you go to the left-hand side of the number line, if you go 1 unit to the left, you'll get -1. And if you keep going another 1 unit, you'll get -2. And this collection of numbers is called the integers. This section over here is called the positive integers. And this side is the negative integers. And then 0 is also in the collection of numbers called the integers. And so this is an extension. Now, part of the reason why we have integers is that it was really helpful in the history of the world to keep track of, to have a meaning for a number that is different to a positive number. So the main way that I think negative numbers came to be was out of the idea of owing somebody money. So if you owe somebody money, then, or if they owe you money, that can mean two different things, even though the amount can be the same. So if you owe somebody money, you might represent that with a positive or a negative, and then the other way would be the opposite. And so negative numbers are very helpful in showing, in money anyway, showing the opposite effect in terms of the direction. The other thing is that the number line can help us keep track of things. And then the other thing is the symbol for an integer. It has its own symbol. The symbol is going to be the Z with an extra line like that. Okay, so that's the symbol for the integers. And if you want the positive integers, you just go like this. If you want the negative integers, you just go like that. Okay, so that's a lot of words. Let's actually do an example. So I want you to do the following for me. So I'm going to make up 4 questions. And I want you to do those and then put your answers in the chat. So I'll give you a moment now. So close my Now, once you've done it, can you pop your answers in the chat? So all of them at once. So when you put them in, just go put the A, the B, the C, and the D all at the same time. And so 5 minus 3 is 2. 5 minus 1 is 4. And then 5 minus 7 starts to get a bit interesting. And so does D. And so what we normally do to think about this is we just use a number line. In fact, let me bring the number line from up here. Where did I put it? Maybe it's just below here. Oh, there we go. So if we want to visualize what 5 minus 7 actually is, well, here's 5, and 7 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so the answer is going to be minus 2. And then 5 minus 9, well, again, we use up 5 units to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have to go 4 more units. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we get minus 4. And so in some ways, dealing with negative numbers, or, and negative numbers are part of the integers. A lot of the way you can just think about if you're adding something. So if you've got a plus, you move to the right. And if you're subtracting, you move to the left. So that is the basic simple idea. But now what happens if instead of starting with a positive number, I start with a negative number? So let's try that. Let's call this question E, F, G, A, B, C, E, F, G, H. And I want you to put all the answers in one line. And this time, I'm going to start with minus 5 minus 3, minus 5 minus 1, minus 5 minus 7, minus 5 minus 9. And you'll notice that I've changed something. Instead of starting with a 5, I'm starting with a negative number and I'm subtracting. And I want to see, can you guys get the answers to that?
So while they try to calculate that, I just see that there were 1 or 2 hands that shot up, but I know Yandisa mentioned that she's a bit stuck. So okay. Do you mind if I also just use an analogy to help them?
No, go ahead, yeah.
Okay, so Yandisa, if you look at number A, so imagine you had 5 rand, right? And then your little brother comes and says, listen, I need 3 rand. So you must give him 3 rand because you're a good sister, right? That means you have 2 rand left. Okay, those are easy. Now look at number E. Now it says you got negative 5 rand. That means you took 5 rand from your mother or whoever, and you still owe them 5 rand. And now you go and you say, well, Mom, I need more money. Can I owe another 3 rand? So how much money do you owe your mother now? Not 5 rand, not 3 rand, but 8 rand. So you negative 8. Does that make a bit more sense now? All right. Back to Sir.
Cool. I hear some sounds are unmuted. Anya, can you just maybe make sure the global mute setting is on? For some reason, I do hear some unmuted sound.
Apologies.
No worries.
And then sorry, Sir, to interrupt. I see there are 2 hands. I don't know if we should use this as a time of questioning or rather for a bit later.
Just postpone for a moment, and then we'll get to that a little bit later. So I just want to make sure everybody understands the number line. So it's really important that we all anchor our understanding in the number line, because as questions get more intricate, the number line will be our friend in terms of understanding. So first of all, ask yourself, where is -5 on the number line? So -5 is going to be, where my big blue dot is. If I'm going to take away 3 from -5, that means I need to go 3 units to the left, right? I need to, because when you take away, we're moving to the left on the number line. So if you imagine going 3 units, 1, 2, 3, you're going to get to -8. Now, the good news is the same, as long as you understand where -5 is on the number line, and you understand in which direction to go if you're subtracting or which direction to go if you're adding, this will make a lot of sense to you. And so the next one for F is going to be -6 because you just move 1 unit to the left. For G, okay, let's have a look here. So actually, let me slow down if necessary. So E is -8. I see we're getting that. H is -14. F isn't -12. F is going to be -6. But I think most of us seem to be on the right track there. Okay, so -5 take away 7. It just means start at -5 on the number line and move 7 units to the left. So that would be from here. Now, I haven't got a big enough number line, but what is 5 and 7 together? It's 12. So we're going to get -12. And then the last one is, what is 5 and 9 together? It's 14. And you're taking them away each time, so you're going to get -14. Okay, so there's lots of questions going on. All I want you to worry about for now, forget about fancy words like inverse and all those things. If you're subtracting a number, you go to the left on the number line because it's getting smaller. If you're adding a number, you go to the right. That's all I want you to think about. And then I also want you to think is the initial number that I start with, where is that on the number line? So that's the skill that I want us to just get used to. Nothing else really matters until we get that. So I'm actually going to make up some more questions now, but along the same sort of idea. And I just want to make sure we consolidate. And we've got the number line below to help us. So let's see if I know my alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. So I, J, K, L. Now, I'm going to start this time. Let's be a bit sneaky. I'm going to start with a 5 and then sometimes start with, and then here I'm going to add 7. Here I'm going to subtract 7. Here I'm going to subtract 7, and here I'm going to add 7. Now I'm being a little bit sneaky because I'm mixing things up, but I want you to think about 2 things. Where is the first number that you get on the number line? And then do I need to move to the left or to the right based on the next part? And when you've got your answer for all 4, I'd like you to put that in the chat. That's all I want you to do. So in the chat, you're going to have, you can have these 4 answers. And then while they're doing that, Anya, I will take some brief questions. So we can, if there's students who want to get my attention.
Yeah, can I just ask, if you have a question, please don't immediately unmute yourself. First, raise your hand, and then I'll give you the mic. So I'll tell you, right, for instance, Jandy, so you can talk or whatever. But just as an example, So if you have a question, please raise your hand and I'll give the floor to you. Right, so Murdy is up first.
Yeah,
Murdy,
go ahead.
can unmute?
Sir, I want to answer.
Go for it. What's Jay's answer?
J's answer is -12. K's answer is
Oh, slow down, sort of perfect.
-2.
Hold on. So -12 is correct. Yeah.
Then it's number K is -2, and then the last one is 10.
Okay. You completely right on these 2, Murdy. I just want to give a little bit of feedback on the last one. So on the last one, this says -5 plus 7. So let's go and find -5 and ask ourselves, what does it mean to plus 7? And what it means is to go 7 units to the right. So let's count that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the answer is actually going to be +2 for L. Okay, it's going to be +2 for L. So I'm going to move on a little bit now, but the main thing I want to emphasize again is, where is the first number on the number line? And then do I move left or do I move right? This is the most important idea. That's,
And then,
yeah. So go ahead.
Sir.
Yeah.
Sorry, so we have 2 more questions before you move on.
Yeah.
Last 2 questions. So the first one's going to be from Tumelo, and
Yes.
then after Tumelo, it's going to be Ria. All right.
Okay. Go ahead,
Tumelo,
guys. What's your question?
No, sir, I just wanted to answer.
Don't worry, we're going to come to you next. Your time to shine is coming. Also, don't be afraid to put your answers in the chat, and Miss Anya will show you some definite love, I promise you. Okay. She'll definitely be with the shout-outs. Now, I want to take things up a little bit, although we're going to ignore this one. So for now, we're ignoring this one, but I want you to try and do the first 6 here, and then put your answers in the chat. Number 1, number 2, number 3, actually, no, ignore number 2. We're not doing 2. Oh, I just zoomed in too much. And yeah, I want you to do a 1 to 6, excluding 2. And I'm going to give you about 3 minutes or so to do that. So it's now 5:27. At 5:30, we're going to take answers. And then while everyone is working on that and putting the answers in the chat, I will take some more questions. So Anya, please,
before you take the questions, can you maybe just zoom in a bit? It's very hard to see.
Okay, how is that looking?
Okay, so you want them to see the right column and the few questions at the bottom. Wait, zooming in now. Yeah, that's a lot better.
I just want them to see 1 to 6, and then we're not doing 2.
Fine.
And I'll explain why in a moment.
That's perfect.
And so what I would suggest, students, is you can even draw yourself a little number line. So in this first one, ask yourself, where is -12 on this number line? Since that's the first number I have to deal with, where would it be? I mean, would it be, if this is 0, would it be on this side or would it be on this side? And then once you've found where it is, what do you need to do with the +7? What direction does it cause it to go in?
The right-hand side.
You're on the money, yes. Any questions, guys? Now is the time to ask audible questions if you do have them. Otherwise, I'm going to let you concentrate. Get some more water. Okay, the answers are starting to come in, which is good. If you can, put all your answers there. We go. Like Micah just did it, that lovely, neat little row. Rather wait until you've got all your answers as best you can. If you can't do one of them, just leave it blank. But it's lovely to see that layout, neat layout with the labels. That's what I want to see. It's just easier for me as a teacher. The very first one, wait. There. the very first one, if here's minus 12, if I add 7, I'm going to go 7 hops, and I'm actually going to get, I'm running out of space here, but I'm going to get to minus 5. So that's going to be my answer for number 1. Let me do it again. For number 3, if you imagine my number line, if here is minus 6, I have to go 12. Maybe I should even do it like this. I have to go plus 12 to the right. And that, I use up 6 getting to 0, then I need another 6. So I get plus 6 for number 3. Maybe I should do my little drawing again. It's a bit messy. So if you think about my number line, I'm at minus 6, which is in negative land. And then I have to move up from plus 12 in that direction. And what do I get to? I get to plus 6. 8 plus 7, that's not too bad. That's just going to be normal. But just to make you, understand how the number line works, if you were at 8 and you added 7, you would still have to move 7 units in that direction. So the system still works. It's just that our brains are so used to doing it straight away that we can get to 15. And the same is true of 3 plus 4. We're so used to going, oh, it's a 7. But if you think of the number line, you've got 3, you're adding a positive number, so you have to go plus 4 in that direction, which gets me to 7. Now number 6 is the hardest one. What is minus 45 plus 9?
Can I answer number 6?
Who is that speaking?
It was
Yandisa, can I
Yandisa.
answer number 6?
Okay, Yandisa, explain to us what you were thinking for number 6, but in future, please put your hand up. It'll just be easier for everyone. So what do you, Yandisa, go ahead.
So for number 6, I first did like the brackets 49. I mean negative 45.
Okay, so you did that first.
Yes, so negative 45.
Okay, and then what did you do?
45. Then I said plus 9.
Okay.
So my answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
My answer is negative 39.
Okay, so let's check your answer. So if I start at negative 45 and I have to go 9 jumps, I use up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That gets me to negative 40. But I've only gone 5 jumps so far. Now I need to go, if I've used up 5, I've got 4 more I need to use up. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think the answer is minus 36, because that's how I get from minus 45 and go 9 units in that direction. So but you're close. You just made a little adding error there at the end. Okay. Give me a thumbs. I want to do a quick little poll before we have a little brain break. If you feel like you're following what's going on, give me a thumbs up. If you don't feel like you feel very lost, give me a thumbs down. And just give us a feel in the class for what is going on there. I just want to get a general feel for the class and be honest. It doesn't really matter. Just be truthful as best you can be.
And then, so while we're doing that, Shame, I see Murdy has had a hand up for a while. I don't know if Murdy wants to mention something or so.
Okay. Murdy, go ahead.
Sir, I know that you said that we shouldn't answer for number 2. So I was just interested in finding out the answer, since I love integers. So my answer for number 2 is negative 70. First, I said negative times a negative, first I said 10 times 7, which is 70. But I think I made a mistake somewhere.
I'm deliberately leaving this one out for now because I'm going to explain it to you, but I want to explain it in a very deliberate way. So what I want to do first is ask you, what is so different about number 2? Before we even, we're going to answer number 2 actually in lesson number 2 or lesson number 3, but why did I leave out number 2? What makes it different to all the other ones? I want to see if in the chat stream, what is different about number 2 compared to all the others that I left it out? I wanted to see what the students notice. Again, put this in the chat. Put this in the chat. What is special about number 2? What makes it different to the other ones that I'm deliberately parking it for now? So one thing is they're both negative. Fair enough. They are both negative. So that's maybe a little bit complicated. What else is different? Both of the numbers in brackets. That's also true. It's also true. You guys are alert. Absolutely. So the other thing that's interesting is, can you see that we have the plus and the minus next to each other? We don't normally have 2 operations right next to each other. So there's a plus and there's a minus that almost are neighbors. And we need to think about quite deliberately how we handle a situation where a plus and minus are right next to each other. So I'm going to deliberately leave that for now. I want your brains to be a little bit like, I wonder what's going on there, but I'm not going to answer it. And I want to see in the remaining 4, which of the remaining, so out of 7, 8, 9, and 10, which ones are most similar to number 2? So I'm showing 4 questions on the page. And if you look at number 2, which one is the most similar to number 2? And I want you to put it in the chat.
Number 7.
Melo, sorry,
Yes.
sir, just gonna jump in here. I know some few new students, and I really appreciate all the effort, guys, but please, just a reminder, try to keep your mics on mute. Try to share your answer in the chat, and if you have a question, raise your hand. Okay, thank you, guys.
There's one other one. All of you got 7, but I'd love to see who can get the other one. So I think all of you could do number 8 at the moment, and all of you could do number 9. But what's the other one, number 10? And the reason number 10 is a little bit more tricky is that we have this plus minus next to each other, and we need to think quite carefully about what that means. And for now, I'm actually going to leave that for a later lesson. I just want you to notice how different it is. Can I ask you to do number 8 and 9 now? I know I said I was going to give you a break, but I just want to finish 8 and 9 and see if you can get the answers for 8 and 9. And then we're going to do a brain break. We're going to stand up and do a brain break. So what's the answer for 8? What's the answer for 9? We have answers coming in for number 8 and number 9. So for number 8, if we add minus 30 on the number line, first of all, ask yourself, where is minus 30? So here's 0. Will it be on this side or will it be on this side? I think minus 30 is 30 units going to the left. And so if I wanted to think about it, it would be hanging out down here. Now, if I'm adding 10, what does that mean with my minus 30? Well, it means I need to go back in the opposite direction. I need to go in that direction. And how much do I need to go by? I need to go by 10 more units. So if I was counting up, and I know my scale is not perfect, but if you think about minus 30 and go 10 in this direction, I think you're going to get minus 20. Okay, what about number 9? So number 9 on my number line, where is minus 34? Well, it's definitely going to be on the negative side. So the number minus 34 is just the number 34 units to the left on the number line. But now what's going to happen when I add 50? Well, I'm going to have to use up 34 getting all the way back to here. And how much do I have left? Well, I've actually got 16 more to go. And so I'm going to end up at plus 16. Now, some of you have ended up with negative 16, and I want you to make sure you understand why you got to positive. And if you look at this little arrow I've drawn, you'll see that you go 34 units. Actually, that's a little bit thick. Let me just change that to be a little bit more marker, like that. So if you're adding 50, to add 50 means to go 50 units to the right. Now you use up 34 units getting back to 0, and then you need to go another 16 in order for the whole thing to be plus 50. So I hope that helps you understand how we got to plus 16. Okay, everyone, it is time for a brain break. And we have a choice now of how we're going to do that. Let's do, have we done pen flipping before? Let me do pen flipping with you. So let's take a little break and just stand up for a second. Let me go, not that. I want everybody to stand up for a moment. We've been going for about half an hour already, and we know our brains need a break. And I want you to take a pen, and I want you to try and toss it in the air so that it only spins around one time. So if I'm holding it on the bottom with the pointy bit, I want to throw it in the air and catch it so that it lands at the same point. And this is a wonderful way of getting your brain to zoom out for a second. Oh, you have done it before. Okay. If you've done it before and you are becoming a ninja of pen flipping, can I suggest to take it up a notch, you try your non-dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, use your left hand. Oh, I'm going to throw this through my computer screen. So make sure that you open space. Ooh, and see if you can do it just once. And I want you to spend 30 seconds doing that. Your brain will thank you for it, I promise. And stand up. Make sure you give yourself a break. Stand up, have a little stretch, and we'll finish. We'll do our last little session after this, and we'll go from there.
So before you start the next session, I think there are two hands in the chat as well. You can maybe just address those before we move on.
I would love to, yes. Okay. Who can I assist?
Trevor, your hand was up first. You'll need to unmute your mic before you ask your question.
Sir.
Yeah.
I didn't understand number 10.
Number 10. Okay.
Yes.
Let's look at number 10. We don't have, okay, at this stage, we are leaving out 7 and 10 because I still need to teach you something more. And I'm worried about if I try and do too much in one day, I confuse you. And so I'm deliberately leaving 7 and 10 out for now, but I just want you to be aware of them so that the next time I come to them, they don't feel completely new to you. So you don't have to do number 10 yet. In fact, I don't want you to do number 10 yet. So I hope that helps. I'm just almost giving you like a trailer, a teaser trailer of the next lesson. Grace, can I help you?
Sir.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, for example, when I get a test, we're writing about integers, but I don't have a number line. But they gave me, for an example, negative 14 close bracket plus negative 15 close bracket. Do I need to, I don't understand, how will I work it out?
Okay, can I suggest this? Instead of going off in specific examples, it's almost like I'm teaching you good technique today. And I want to stick with only a couple of ideas for every lesson. By the end of this module, I promise you, you will have a very good understanding of integers. But for now, I really want to focus on only a couple of main ideas. And the first idea today was the number line and when to go left and when to go right. And there's one last little bit I want to add today, which is the double negative. I'm not going to go outside those boundaries for now, because otherwise it's going to confuse. I'd rather do like a new thing every time we get together. Okay, so let us begin on this last little bit, which is the trailer for the next one. Okay, now in the previous questions, I have been ignoring those questions where there's a positive and negative next to each other, because at the moment we don't really know what that means. Okay, and so I want to move towards handling situations like that, but I actually want to deal first with what's called the double negative. Okay, now if you imagine that the question 11, well, question 11 is 2 minus minus 2. Now earlier in the lesson I asked you about what does it mean if we have a double negative, and what we said was if I'm not hungry, I'm actually hungry. The two negatives cancel each other out. So what do you think the effect of minus minus 2 is going to be? What do you think? Put this in the chat. What is minus minus 2 the same as? It's positive, and it's not just positive. It's going to be what? It's going to be, if I rewrote this, 2 minus minus 2 is going to be 2 plus 2. All right. So the first thing I want to focus on is just when you have two negatives next to each other, 2 minus minus 2 is the same as 2 plus 2. And so the answer to that question is going to be 4. Let us try. So if we look at, well, let's actually try number 12 as well. The first question I want to ask you about so a negative and negative is a positive. Yes. So when you have two negatives next to each other, we call that a double negative, and not something is the same as saying plus, or it's basically the two negatives cancel each other's effects out and you get a positive. But this can be a little bit confusing, and I want to contrast this with number 12. In number 12 are two negatives next to each other. So first, I want everyone just to focus only on this question now. Are there two negatives next to each other? Give me a thumbs up if you say there are two negatives next to each other. Give me a thumbs down if you say they're not next to each other, not directly next to each other. Galaxy, I think you know something. Okay, you guys are clever. Here, if you look at -1, -10, these two negatives are not next to each other. So there's no netting off effect. What you do for number 12 is you say, where is -1 on the number line? And you'll say, okay, it's here. And if I take away 10, do I go left or do I go right? And I think from earlier on, you will agree with me that taking away 10 is going to move me 10 units to the left, because I'm taking away 10. I'm at -1 and I take away 10. So what is my answer going to be for number 12? That's what I want to know. So if I'm at -1 and I take away 10, I'm going to end up with -11. That's what I get. Okay, you see how being very careful about how you do this, guys, is important. If you don't see, like, some students will get confused between 11 and 12 because I think, oh, the negatives are next to each other, but they're not. Okay, now I want to see, can you do 13 and 14? I know 14 is a little bit tricky, but I want you to try and do 13 and 14 by yourself and put them in the chat. And see if you can use the same thinking that I've showed you to help do number 14. So Trevor, is it possible to calculate instead of the number line? The number line is very good until you At a later stage, you can use a calculator, but I would really recommend using a number line at this stage. It makes sure that you don't make silly mistakes. So I see loads of answers coming through for 13. We get 1, yes. And then for 14, what are we going to get for 14? Well, actually, see, it's 10-2. I must actually be off now in a moment. How do we deal with number 14? We've got -8 minus -6. But now what is the effect of minus -6? What's that the same as? Excuse me. Well, minus -6 is a double negative, and the two negatives are right next to each other. So we get +6. And then we ask ourselves, okay, well, where is -8 on the number line? And then if I'm at -8, what do I need to do? I need to move 6 units to the right if I'm adding, and that will get me to, it won't get all the way to 0, so my final answer will be -2. Okay, guys, I'm going to call it a day for today because my experience with students is that your brain needs time to digest this. So to go over the ideas from today, first ask yourself, where are you on the number line? Find yourself on the number line, then ask yourself, do you need to move left or do you need to move right? And then in the situations where you have two negatives next to each other, and they have to be next to each other, a double negative is the same as a positive. And those were the 3 main ideas I want you to just think about going forward, and we'll pick it up from there. Okay, guys, I am going to go across to my next lesson, but I've had a lot of fun teaching you. I hope that you have had a good time today. And I think maybe we should just pop out another poll there. Oh, sorry, there's a poll about, I knew about devices, or even, yeah, let's do overall experience. And then could we also do the poll on devices after they've done this?
I'll do that, sir. So if you guys can just quickly fill this one in, and then there'll be another poll after this one.
Because I want to know what devices students are using, just so I know going forward, like what, yeah, it's helpful. And if you could just take screenshots of that, Anya, that would be super helpful.
Will do.
But yeah, and thanks, guys. It was really good today. I hope that you had fun. I'm just going to go and get ready for my lesson with the grade 11s. I will see you on Wednesday.